Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports podcast that does not apologize for championship rings and things. I am your host, Ross Bolen. And Banging the Can is presented by my very small business of now 4, as of a couple months ago, Bolen Media. And today's show, we actually have a lot of positives to discuss. Happy times in Houston. Huzzah! And Merry Christmas to all. First, let's start with the COVID-Ravaged Texans destroying the Chargers somehow. We are 4-11 and quickly slipping away from top-tier draft position. Even after we had 16 players miss the game, and I repeat, 16 players on the COVID-19 list, including our best receiver, Brandon Cooks, center, Justin Britt, defensive end, Jonathan Greenard, and kicker, Fairbairn. We still beat the shit out of them. Burkhead had a 25-yard touchdown run and a 1-yard touchdown run. I mean, we were last in the entire NFL in rushing going into this game. Last. We ran for a season-high 189 yards, and yes, that is a depressing figure. Coach Culley said, "We played our most complete football game." Coach, you had 16 guys on the COVID-19 list, and you had your most complete football game. Somehow, both amazing and problematic at the same time. 16 of your players were gone. We had the janitor out there, and somehow we pull a big dub over the Chargers? How the hell is this the state of 41 points? We put up 41 points. 41-29. That looks like an actual real football score. Which is not a thing that has occurred often this season if you've been paying attention. And I mean, all said and done, obviously this season is a throwaway. We're developing, we're rebuilding, we're being coached and managed and owned by total and utter morons. But there's this massive bright spot now that prior to this past 2 weeks, I frankly had failed to remember. And it's the neck. The neck is our guy. Davis Mills has outplayed Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence in back-to-back weeks. He threw for 254 and 2 touchdowns against the Chargers. I mean, more and more, week by week, you see him gaining poise. You see him gaining experience, making less and less rookie mistakes. We're at the point now where he is contending for best rookie QB of his class with Mac Jones, who has been slipping. Like, that argument is not a joke anymore, which it would have been a few weeks ago. And the fact of the matter is, Nick Caserio might actually be a good drafting GM. Somehow he is apparently involved in play calling now, which is absolutely insane. And again, our front office is a total dumpster fire. But it is good to know that we can draft well. And in all seriousness, if Caserio is actually calling plays, which I believe has been confirmed at this point, then Culley is not long for this world. What kind of smorgasbord of a 3-headed monster do we have in the head coaching slot here? How many people are there calling plays at the same time? The GM is working in play calls? What is that? What does that look like? What is the hierarchy? What if there's a disagreement? There are so many questions, none of which these guys ever produce a rational answer for when asked by our very competent media members, all of which have become both disgusted with and enthralled by this team at this point. Davis Mills, man. Really, really impressive stuff. And I just don't... It's the first time this season that I'm not hampered by Texans triggering. I was not triggered a single time during this game. We talked about being Texans triggered last week. It's been the whole freaking season for me. Until something in the Jags game gave me a wrinkle of hope. And then watching us compete with 16 guys on the COVID list the Chargers got dinged up too, but not nearly as badly as we did. And not just compete, but beat ass. Man, it felt good. And I'm so glad I didn't bet on this game. As a rule, I just stay the hell away from the Texans at this point. It's a lose-lose situation. Even when I win gambling on them, I feel like I lost, so I might as well have lost. So at this point, I don't touch them. And I'm really glad I didn't with this game because I certainly wouldn't have. I don't know what the spread was, but holy shit, did we cover. Davis Mills. The neck. I think we have to make merch for the neck. I'm not joking. BolenMedia.com/shop. We're going to have to do it. It's not there now, but go see what we do have or whatever. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs, making the most comfortable shorts in the world with the built-in underwear you know and love for living life and making love. It's like, why wear shorts with underwear when you can wear even better shorts with built-in underwear, thus creating less laundry, thus saving the planet, thus making you a hero who is also better looking and more comfortable. Bird Dogs, you silly bastard. But did you know they make pants as well for these winter months? Pants for work, pants for play, pants for golf. Their new joggers are next level comfortable. I absolutely love them. I'm wearing them many times a week, sometimes to sleep because they are that comfortable. You can wear them to work out, play basketball, go for a run, and sleep. I don't recommend that in that order because they'd be sweaty and gross most likely, but the Bird Dogs joggers on birddogs.com are awesome. Grab yourself a pair. Love mine. Everything they make is phenomenal and incredibly, incredibly comfortable and good looking. What's more, for being a can banger, when you use the code BTC at checkout on birddogs.com, Bird Dogs is giving away free whistling footballs like the Nerf football you grew up with, but a Bird Dogs whistling football when you throw it through the air. This holiday season, use code BTC, as in banging the can, when you check out on birddogs.com to support the podcast and get yourself a pair of the most comfortable shorts or pants with the built-in underwear, or without if you don't want to be a rebel, that you know and love. Birddogs.com, code BTC. One more piece on Texans talk before we move on. So I went to high school at Westside High School on the west side of Houston between Katy and Memorial. It's Highway 6 in Briar Forest, all right? And I went, like, the third year it was open. It was, like, the, inaugural year of this high school was 2 years before me. And so it was brand new. The point is this. The wrestling coach had a son named Ronnie who went to school with me, okay? And Ronnie, he was pretty much the typical son of a coach of a sports coach in high school, and draw from that what you will. But Ronnie grew up to be a man, like the rest, like many of us did from high school. And he has like a sleeve tat, and then like a leg sleeve tat, an arm sleeve and a leg sleeve, and he is the poster boy of the anti-Cal McNair club. Like, literally, he's the dude at the games that has, like, he's got a couple different variations of signs that he brings. But the one that got him ejected from the stadium on Sunday during the Chargers game because he refused to yield his sign to police, I believe it said, "Hey, Tommy Boy Cal, sell the team," which is, of course, a reference to Tommy Boy, the film where Chris Farley plays Tommy Boy, the idiot son of an auto parts making guy who dies. And in this case, what Ronnie's doing is applying the idiotic behavior of Tommy Boy to our owner, Cal McNair, as they do have a lot in common. They both inherited things because their dads died, and they're both morons, and they're both kind of portly. I will say Cal has a mustache, doesn't he? Doesn't Cal McNair have a mustache? Cal McNair. It's been a while since I looked at his face because it upsets me. Yeah, so he's got a mustache where Farley didn't, but all in all, you can see the resemblance. So Ronnie, again, guy that went to high school with me, he was the grade above me. Like, one of his wrestling teammates at one point actually beat the shit out of me in the front yard before a party. That's just another detail that doesn't matter. But the point is, the odds that this got media coverage. And the odds that the guy that is the head of the Cal McNair Haters Club went to high school with me just seems so astronomical in my like, you know how many high schools we have in Houston? And the dude that gets TV time is Westside Ronnie. Westside Ronnie is the head of the Cal McNair Haters Club that I feel like I am a part of and didn't even know he was leading. But He was held for like a while by the cops for refusing to give up this sign. He lost his fucking shit. He gets taken to like this holding cell, and all of this is what I, surmise from Twitter, from the coverage on Twitter. Shouts to all the Texans writers and media people who I try to retweet often at Banging the Can on Twitter to give them their due and proper because they do such a good job and they're amazing. I really do love the media members we have surrounding the Texans at this point, which is at least another positive. And the odds that it's Ronnie, just crazy. But he didn't get banned, not banned from the stadium. They do have very, very non-specific rules related to, like, I'm doing air quotes here, harassment, as it were, at the stadium. Basically, Texans can make whatever rule they want. And in this case, they saw Ronnie enter the stadium. They appeared to have police officers readied at the level above him, watching him and his sign for when he raised it so they could come down and remove it from his hands. And when he refused, they took him into custody momentarily in some wing of the stadium. I've always wanted to be arrested in a sports stadium so I could find out what the hell is going on. Where is it that I get to go? And is it close to the locker room? Might I see a player or coach? Because that really factors into whether or not I'm willing to go streaking. Shouts to Ronnie, though. Keep the hate coming, man. Cal deserves it. He earned it. And I hope you and your dad are doing well. Wild. Small world. The Houston Cougars ended their 2021 season on a high note today with a 17-13 win over the SEC Auburn. Auburn in the Birmingham Bowl. Birmingham Bowl at Protective Stadium in Birmingham, Alabama. God, we have a lot of bowl games. Clayton Tune, quarterback, led the way, 2 passing touchdowns for the Cougars. Basically a road game in Bama, obviously SEC territory. And yeah, they showed out, man. The Cougars have been another bright spot in Houston this entire year, really. They've, I think one of their women's teams just got dismissed from play due to COVID. But all in all, like with football and basketball, and they've been great, man. And the Cougars, once an afterthought when it came to Houston sports. When I was growing up, when I was a little kid in the late 90s and early 2000s, early 90s and early 90s, when I was a boy... I was born in 1987. Does that help? The Cougars didn't matter. Nobody really gave a shit. And over the past 15 years, they've really undergone this enormous transformation into a school that actually matters when it comes to sports. And when it comes to sports, teams that get discussed with the Rockets and Texans and Astros and Dynamo and Dash. And that's something to applaud. They've come a long way. Seeing them get wins is always nice. And I know there's a ton of Cougars fans who listen. Y'all have been asking for a lot of Cougars coverage. As I have continuously ignored the team. Frankly, I never had much connection to the Cougs. But my little brother spent some time there, graduated Houston Cougar. I know several Cougar graduates at this point. Being a Houston guy, I will support the Cougars. I never had a college football team. I went to Texas State University. I grew up with Aggies. Texas State is like high school football, man. There's no fan base. There's nothing to root for there. It's sad. It's worse than the Texans. It's like if the Texans didn't even I don't even know what to compare it to. There's not an NFL version of not trying at all. Like we're close, but we're not. It's not even that bad. So, point is, I've never had loyalties when it comes to college football, and I've always just gone with wherever my money is on the board. And at this point, I might have to turn it in and become a Cougs fan. Become a Cougs guy. I just don't see why not. Feels like the next progression in my Houston sports fanhood. I'm 34. It's time to pick a college team and ride. And the Cougs, I feel like I waited long enough. Now they're good. Time to jump on the bandwagon again. Cougs! How are the Rockets doing? Solid. Şengün's minutes are still being relatively restricted, but we've gotten some form of an explanation. They're basically trying not to burn him out. I mean, you don't just want to throw the dude out there and have him get so overwhelmed that he's non-productive or starts to lose confidence in himself, and I totally understand that. Coach Silas is trying to provide him with some level of cushion for mistakes. And, he's getting 17, 18 minutes a game. I'm seeing guys get 24, 25 minutes that I don't even know who the fuck they are. We had a guy playing our most recent game, I didn't know who the hell he was. And that was a wake-up call for me that I need to be paying closer attention to the Rockets. But look, man, nothing but positive things to say about the Rockets at this point. I think John Wall, distractions aside, this season has been enormously productive. We've seen that Silas's offense and general coaching demeanor is up to snuff. It's kind of yet to be determined how, defensively what we're going to look like long term. Obviously, the trade deadline is coming up in February, and we're going to be a team to watch. I expect the Rockets to be hard at work, seeing where they can get value for some of their guys, whether it be John Wall or Eric Gordon or maybe even a Christian Wood. But, man, in just the few minutes I've seen with Wood and Şengün on the floor at the same time, I'm so tempted to hold. And Christian seems like one of those guys, he has such a chip on his shoulder. He's constantly saying, don't be a casual. And I'm like, I feel like he's talking directly to me at this point. But it's not about his game for me. It's about the potential on the trade and the potential for him as a Rocket versus what we get back if I don't believe we'll contend for a championship for at least 3 years. And that's where my mind is at. And it's the only reason I suggest looking into, what his value is out there, because there are a lot of contenders who would kill for Christian Wood. And if that is the case, the way I think it is, then we'll get back great value. And for that reason and that reason alone, when I look at Şengün and the other guys we've got, I see him as more expendable. But that's absolutely not a knock on his game. And as I said, now that I've seen a little bit more of him and Şengün on the floor at the same time with the no-look passes and the posterizations, Daddy want more. Daddy no longer knows what to do about trade deadline. But thankfully, we've got a solid month and in a week or two for our GM and our for Stone and Silas to figure it out. Hopefully Stone isn't playing half of a coach like Caserio is and calling plays. That hasn't been reported. I just don't want it to ever be a thing, so I'm speaking it into non-existence. The opposite of manifesting this concept, please. Thank you, universe. To everyone who is in their fantasy football championship, congratulations and fuck you. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear about it. Shut the fuck up and enjoy. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Banging the Can, where we put out clips from our show, and you can like them and share them and comment on them and send them to your friends and family. Speaking of which, tell everyone you know about the show. If you're in Houston for the holidays or traveling abroad with your Houstonian family members, put them on to some Banging the Can. It's time. It's time. Seriously, you're having fun. You're enjoying yourself. You want your family and friends to enjoy themselves too. Your fellow Houston sports fans, send them here to me, Ross Bolen, and I will do what I can to entertain them. Again, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, same handle everywhere, at Banging the Can. You can follow me, Ross Bolen, at WR Bolen on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Boss Rollin, BOSSROLEN on TikTok, if you are interested. I'm on twitch.tv/Boss Rollin, playing Halo, playing Apex Legends, a few nights a week. I'm on there fairly often, sometimes in the afternoon. I have a blast. Love everybody who comes through on twitch.tv/Boss Rollin. Thank you so much for being there. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can support our company and this podcast on Twitch by subscribing, and it will cost you nothing. We appreciate that. Twitch.tv/BOSSROLEN. It's Ross Bolen with the B and the R reversed. We have a TV and film podcast here at Bolen Media called Oysters, Clams, and Cockles that I host with one of my best friends of 20 years who also went to Westside High School with me, Mr. Barrett Dudley. And we talk about the best in TV, the best movies we've seen recently. We're going to be discussing Don't Look Up this week. We discussed the Succession finale in our most recent episode. We talk about The Great. We talk about Yellowstone sometimes, all kinds of different TV shows and best movies that come out that we see. I'm sure No Way Home will be discussed at some point. The new Spider-Man movie that just grossed $1 billion in like a week. Crazy. The Marvel universe is just absolutely out of control, the MCU at this point. So yeah. Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Also, Formula Bone. If you're an F1 fan, we have at Formula Bone on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. The Formula Bone F1 show is available wherever you listen to Banging the Can, hosted by my co-host on the Ross Bolen podcast, Jared Borslow. Formula Bone F1 fans, go listen to the Formula Bone F1 show now. And as I said, the Ross Bolen podcast, our comedy show here at Bolen Media, is co-hosted by Jared Borslow, hosted by me, Ross Bolen, and I would also appreciate it if you would give that a listen. We talk about mental health some as well, and all of our shows are available wherever you're listening to Banging the Can, Formula Bone, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, the Ross Bolen podcast. Follow us everywhere on social media, at Bolen Media on Twitter and Instagram as well. And like I said, please, please, please tell all your Houston friends and family about Banging the Can this holiday season. I will be back soon. keep the good times rolling. H-Town, stay down.